CBS Atlanta News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
Did you know that this generation may not live as long as their parents? As many as 1 in 5 children ages 6 to 11 are obese. Roughly 1 in 3 children is overweight. Good Sunday morning to you, everyone. I'm Brandon Rudat. It is an epidemic here. We're talking about childhood obesity, and advertisers, they're not helping much at all. Half of all advertising aimed at children promotes food and beverages. A new alarming statistic out there predicts 1 in 5 children in this country will be obese by the year 2020. But researchers from Columbia University say that trend can be avoided, and it's pretty simple. All the average child has to do is cut back 64 calories every day. Here to help us kind of make that happen, explain it to us, Jason Berry. He is a registered dietitian from Lifetime Fitness. Jason, thanks for your time this morning. We're talking about 64 calories a day they say can make a big impact on a child. Is that true?
That's true, and there's some ways that you can kind of go around to do that by changing some of the common foods that they always eat. So we have on the table.
You have a wide assortment. You brought in a wide assortment. But Jason, before we get to that, I want to, how do you try and convince, you're talking to a parent, right, and they bring their child in, how do you convince a child that they should eat the healthier option, or do we need to sort of trick them at an earlier age that you can eat healthy and it'll still taste good?
It's difficult, and really tricking kids, as bad as it sounds, is really a easy way to do it for parents. There's no complaints. They'll eat the food they don't even really know most of the time that they're eating like a healthier option. So
got it.
Yeah.
So just give them 2 options. Say you can have this option or this option, but make sure both those options are somewhat healthy.
Right. Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. So the most common food out there, right? Mac and cheese. I knew I grew up on mac and cheese. Was the easiest thing for sometimes my parents who were on the go all the time. They were always on business, always had things to do. The easiest thing was just pop in some mac and cheese.
Yeah. Well, you can still keep the mac and cheese, but make a couple alterations. So
all right, what are we doing?
To get some vegetables or sneak some vegetables into your kid's palate, take some cauliflower, carrots, puree them, and then take Greek yogurt, mix it all together in with the boxed macaroni and cheese. Taste almost exactly just like regular macaroni and cheese made with butter and milk, only you skip the butter and milk, you add vegetables, and the kids don't know the difference, and you get vegetables.
Are you basically taking the powdered cheese out and supplying with the vegetables of puree that you're putting in, or are you just adding 2?
You can still leave the powdered cheese in, or even better, put real cheese in, and then add these ingredients. But you can still have boxed macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, another thing, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, is that a lot of times parents are on the go. And the easiest thing to do is take a kid take the family through the drive-through after a long day at practice or after a long day of school. Sometimes it's just easier. And unfortunately, that perceived to be sometimes lazy mentality can get you into trouble.
It can. I mean, it's really difficult nowadays where everybody's on the go. You have 2 working parents. Sometimes they're working an extra job outside of that, and you have kids.
And sometimes kids are at home alone, as they're 11, 12 years old, and they're at home for a few hours, and they go raid the cabinet like I did. And we used to go for the sweets when Mom and Dad weren't in there because the sweets were still in there. All right, let's talk about chicken fingers as well. One of the most common meals for young kids, especially.
Definitely.
Young kids, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old.
Love, just regular fried chicken fingers. Really easy to prepare for a parent. So, I mean, it's tempting to just buy, regular fried chicken fingers.
Buy it in
cook
bulk.
them and buy it in bulk and feed your kids. But there's an easier, alternative recipe you can use. If you just buy chicken tenders, take either some eggs, coat the chicken tenders, or even Greek yogurt, you can coat the chicken tenders. And then that's going to provide like the sticky material that you add breadcrumbs to, either like panko breadcrumbs or just like a regular piece or broken apart bread. And when you bake it, it's going to make it crunchy and taste almost just like a regular fried piece of chicken. Like kids won't even know the difference.
Yeah,
and you skip all the bad trans fats and vegetable oils that were used to kind of prepare these other bad chicken fingers.
And I think too is that you can also make it in advance. Like you can make this meal all in one night and tell kids you can have chicken fingers the rest of the week, and then just put it back in the microwave after you've kind of taken the time at least one night to prepare.
Yeah, like a Sunday night or a Wednesday night, midweek or end of the week. Awesome, like good time to do it.
All right, very good. And we're also talking about ice cream now. Kids love ice cream. How do you find an alternative way around the sweets?
So I mean, you can always pick up, some kind of chocolate, crazy, ice cream concoction. And, there's a lot of bad ingredients in these foods, trans fats, weird stuff. Some of the stuff you can't even pronounce on some of the labels.
Yeah.
So a good alternative, Greek yogurt again, awesome go-to. Add a little bit of honey.
Okay.
And add just a little bit of chocolate chips.
Oh my gosh, I was over at a friend's house and we were dining and they were cooking up a meal and that's exactly what we had for dessert.
Really? Yeah.
They had Greek yogurt, chopped up some strawberries in it, and we put some chocolate
Even
chips
better, some
and
fruit.
honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, right?
It was really good, and you wouldn't think it was really good. I was tricked into thinking that it was dessert.
More protein, less sugar. Great.
I like that. I like that. Now, how do you, again, when we're looking at stuff and when parents are out there at the grocery store and they're looking for things to really look for as far as the ingredients, what's good for my kid, what's bad for a kid? We're talking about 64 calories possibly being the difference between an obese kid and a child who's not obese. So we're not talking about a ton of calories here, right?
And it's not always, well, it's not really all calories in, calories out.
Okay.
It is
What should we be looking for when we're shopping?
Carbohydrate content has a huge impact on weight because it controls a key hormone called insulin. And that's the one that just kind of stuffs fat in your fat cells, basically. And so carbohydrates stimulate insulin the most of any more over protein or fat. So if you cut the carbs down and if you make better food choices like fruits, meats, veggies, nuts, seeds, you're doing yourself a huge favor.
Okay, for parents who do have their kids, let's just say you want your kids to be alert during the day. Their breakfast can really impact how they learn at school, right? We're talking about energy, foods that'll give your kids energy to run on.
Oatmeal. Oatmeal is an awesome option in the beginning or in the starting your day. So, a lot of kids will have like a Fruit Loops or just a real sugary cereal, Fruity Pebbles, something like that.
They're going to crash.
And they'll crash. Yeah, they have this big blood sugar spike, and then it comes down an hour or two later, and then they're done. So until lunch. So if they have something like an oatmeal or maybe scrambled eggs in the morning, their blood sugar is more stable until 3-4 hours later when they're going to eat lunch, or 5 hours even in some schools, and they're much more likely to be successful in school. Basically, they can focus, they can concentrate, they have energy.
Is there a cutoff time as to when your last meal should be for a child?
There's not an official cutoff time. Like the research doesn't really back it up.
But is it bad? I mean, if a kid eats late at night, I mean, is it bad for the body to sleep with that food in the system?
But there is some evidence that says if you have a higher carbohydrate meal right before you go to sleep, that you will store more fat. So if you are going to have a snack later at night, stick with protein and fats. But a lot of people use a good rule: just cut off your meals at 8 or cut off your meals at 7. It'll just prevent, snacking at night, period. So. All
right, very good. Jason Berry, registered dietitian from Lifetime Fitness. Appreciate your help this morning. Kind of showing us a few alternatives to the sugary and the bad foods. We appreciate it. When we come back, he's made it his mission to make sure that other teenagers are not overweight. Meet Tiger Green and see the work he's doing to sack childhood obesity for good.